because when we ship our goods from here, for example, for the sportswear, when we get the packing list from the supplier, for example, one container is about 7,000 pieces. But when we recount the goods when they came to the warehouse in Moscow, it can be about lack of 300 or 400, and but they refuse to accept it. So, but I have checked, for example, with the SGS company, if they check the quality after we get the goods in Moscow, but it's really very expensive. So
I've dealt with some products shipping into places where maybe the inbound customs officer puts one in his pocket.
The case was that this container was not opened on the road, so there was just the same seal as in the Shanghai port and in.
For example, I've been doing sourcing in China for 12 years on my own, and I still hire third parties to go visit the factory and actually have his crew take snapshots and do a product count. Camilo mentioned it's difficult to inspect the product 100%, but it's not very difficult to count how many pallets.
But the fact is that there was a lack of the cartons. So, for example, the number of the cartons was just exactly the packing, but the inside of them, there, for example, like of one suit in one carton, another carton with one suit in.
For example, some of my FQC, my final quality control for the products that I assemble for my clients under my roof, we put the stuff on a scale before it sends out, so that if one pallet is heavier than the other, that's a red flag. If it's too light, then probably there's not the product count is off. So that's one way. Any other suggestions on how to make sure the count is right?
It's really. I wouldn't
have another way to
the scale.
Yeah, the scale. It's based also on the people who is inspecting the products itself. Like they really have the experience. They, for example, like us, is like if we take a sampling size, they know. They're gonna do it randomly. They're not gonna take the products out of, they're gonna take it from different cartons. So you want to make sure that they're really, it's really a random sampling size. But it's
my nightmare was when I thought I had a good supplier as the first order, and I had 100 boxes, and now my team went in, the inspectors, and did a random sampling size. But my supplier was smart, and he knew that he wasn't going to get paid until the shipping documents were delivered to me. So I structured that 30, 40, 30, like Sophie was saying. And the supplier was tricky and put all the defects into one of the 100 boxes.
Which was unexpected.
Statistically, it's unlikely that my team is going to open that up. And so, yes, I still had that final 30% off the table, but the supplier didn't want me to hold the 40% in the middle. So, yeah, we negotiated it, but I learned from that time that I needed to develop a closer relationship with the supplier, let them know, hey, if there are defects, just tell me about it. I don't want to change the supplier. So now I get really involved with my suppliers so that they're not trying to trick. That has a lot of weight in China. If you buy once a year and you never talk to the supplier again, if you have a long-term relationship, stress that at the meetings over and over again. Yeah, we're looking forward to next season. It's going to be a good year. The U.S. economy is finally coming back. We project 5% increase in orders. Dangle the carrot out there. You have to let them take a bite of the carrot eventually, but that helps, because structure your payments so that you're not exposed if there are defects, and build a good relationship with the supplier.
I think there's one question about payment. We just mentioned that it's better to choose the option that the last 30% will be paid after the goods will be delivered to the finals. But really, we have been making the orders for about 7 years here, and it's really difficult to find the suppliers which accept 10% plus payment. Maybe the fact is that they know that we ship to Russia and we do not realize the Russian money.
For example, I have a customer in Nigeria, and the suppliers are scared to death that they'll never get paid. So what happens is my Nigerian customer has his Chinese supplier deliver it to my facility, and my people inspect it 100%. And then the TT goes from Nigeria to the supplier, and we export it. So you can use partners in China. I'm not saying you have to use us, but you could use a friendly company, someone that can be a gateway in China to physically check the products 100% if needed. So there are ways to get around it. Good questions. We still have a few more minutes, and if there are no other questions, I'd like to ask a couple of the tough questions. Sophie, tell us a little bit about the jurisdiction. You know, my U.S. lawyer is always saying I should have my contract with my Chinese employer in New York. I imagine that's because he wants to get paid if it ever goes to court. But as a Chinese lawyer, where should we put the jurisdiction at the bottom of the contract? Should we say Hong Kong, mainland China? What do you think?
Well, it's it's a little difficult to answer that. I think maybe the Chinese the fee for Chinese lawyer service is not so expensive. So and actually you mean jurisdiction and as I mentioned. Maybe you can choose Hong Kong to go to do the arbitration, but still it's you have to apply with the Chinese court to enforce the arbitration award. And so I think to make sure, because to win the case is not our goal. What we want to do is to get our money back. So I think if you want to get your money back, you had better file lawsuit in Chinese court, because Chinese court, as I said, Chinese court will not enforce a foreign judgment.
Will a Chinese court enforce a Hong Kong judgment?
There is some treaty between Hong Kong and China, but still you have to apply the local court to enforce that. And but I mean. I still suggest you to file lawsuit in local court. Why? Because when you file the lawsuit, at the same time you can ask the court to frozen their account.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the way to give them some pressure. Maybe you don't have to wait for maybe 1 or 2 years to get the final result. Because you get their card, you get their account, bank account, so it's very difficult for them to do business. So they will come to you to negotiate with you. But if you go to Hong Kong, only after you get the award, then you will do something against them. Maybe it will be late. They will move their assets.
Yeah, clear that, change the factory. Well. While we're talking about legal issues, Kevin, I'd like to get your opinion. You've been involved in lots of cases for intellectual property. Can a foreigner win in the court of law? You've been here a long time. Is the playing field getting more level? Is it getting worse? What's your overall situation on the status of being a foreigner and protecting ourselves in China?
It's getting better, and it's getting more level, and it's getting, I don't know if I'd say fairer, but yeah, I guess I would say fair. As a country develops, maybe like China, quickly like China, one of the first things that they pay attention to is intellectual property, private property, personal rights. So it's getting better. Courts are getting more sophisticated. People are starting to realize that that intellectual property actually has value. For a long time, if they had 20 years ago, 10 years ago, if I had a shirt and I just, for some reason, I put Tommy Hilfiger on the shirt, I'm not hurting anybody. It's okay. And I might make an extra 5 RMB by selling the shirt. They're starting to get more sophisticated and more educated in that respect.
Okay, some good news then to end the presentation. Most of the speakers are going to stick around for a little while. If you have additional questions, or stop by our booth. We're down in Hall 7. Aisle M35. So on that, join me in thanking Global Sources for this opportunity and for our presenters' time today. Wishing you successful.